how attentive Miss Lily is. Hello, Miss Lily. In the sun? No. Lily's with Billy. Lily, she doesn't love me anymore. It's transactional. It's like, if you give me 2 TREATs, I might come over and see you. Happy Friday, Baylor College of Medicine and friends of Baylor. Lily's hanging out with our cameraman, Billy. I don't know, she doesn't love me anymore. Well, what fun we can talk about. There's always something new in the news. And so I thought we'd have fun talking about the bubonic plague. Why? Because a cat owner just gave a poor man in Oregon the bubonic, bubonic, the organism, Yersinia pestis. So back in the 1300s, it was a worldwide plague. As you know, the bubonic plague was named because they had these buboes would form, which are giant lymphadenitis in the arms and the groin. And it led to a septic death. And so, it got pretty much eliminated, except there's still cases in the Pacific Northwest. And there was a case of a 73-year-old man who was in contact with his cat who was carrying this the Yersinia pestis, and he actually showed up with arm infected. Was treated and recovered. But Lily wanted to make sure that you knew that in addition to the fact that they bring home dead animals with weird viruses, cats along with rats can carry bubonic plague. Also, in the news of global warming, mosquitoes apparently are taking over Europe as well. It's not just here, but the 3 major mosquito species that are growing, Aedes albopictus, which causes dengue, chikungunya, and Zika, Aedes aegypti, dengue, chikungunya, Zika, and yellow fever, and Culex pipiens, West Nile virus, are all growing, and cases are booming in Europe. So it's kind of amazing. You can just see the impact of global warming and mosquito vectors moving north. These are the 3 mosquitoes I mentioned. But, so when you travel, you have to take the same precautions as you would here, particularly around making sure that you don't get bitten by mosquitoes. And then this is a really interesting study, actually, that has gotten some interest. But there's a group of scientists who were looking to see whether or not they could treat bats who carry rabies. So rabies in the United States is mostly carried by bats. And so that is the big risk when you have a bat in your home or something. The health department always wants to check it for rabies. So this group of investigators took a gel coated with a vaccine and put it on the surface of 24 bats who live in a colony of 117, and found that because the behavior is licking the gel and grooming each other, 88% of the colony was vaccinated. So just interesting thoughts about ways to manage bat diseases without killing all the bats. Anyway, I thought that was cool. A few things on avian flu. First of all, there were 3 new confirmed cattle cases in California. So California is now the state that's had the biggest problem. And if you look at wastewater analysis for H5N1, right now, this week, there were 2 positives, 1 in Oregon and 1 in New Jersey. Don't ask me what they're doing in New Jersey, but I showed you the waterfowl there is a path of waterfowl that go down the East Coast, so I'm sure that they were infected. And this is very interesting. These are the site levels that are positive for H5N1. So very consistently, New Jersey has been positive. It's Oregon and New Jersey these days. And it's not just cattle, that we've talked about, and chickens. There are a number of other animals that are now being reported that carry H5N1. One was a domestic cat, of course. Cat's another cat disease. But also 3 raccoons, 2 in Texas and 1, Janet, there's 1 in the Bronx. Avoid the South Bronx for many reasons, and now there is an H5N1 infected raccoon. I try to avoid the South Bronx at all times. So there was also an interesting study that came out, which actually has impact for if we were to face a pandemic. So this came out in Nature, and it was looking at who's susceptible to H5N1 if we have a pandemic. So they took a bunch of people, 157 individuals, born between 1927 and 2016, to see if their sera would react to H5N1. And what they found was older people already have some ability to react to H5N1 because almost certainly over the years they've been exposed to viruses that were similar, not bird flu per se, but in that group. So then that was one thing. The first is that older people already have probably some antibodies around that would be responsive. But then they took young people and old people and vaccinated them to an H5N1, one of the H5N1 strains that is circulating, and found that they equally responded. So thinking about what would you do in a pandemic, since young people don't have a natural immunity, they would be very susceptible, but they have a very good response to the vaccine. So in a public health strategy, you'd want to be sure that young people were vaccinated. You know, it's hard enough to get kids vaccinated against MMR, but if there's a pandemic bird flu outbreak, young people in particular will be susceptible and will need to be vaccinated. All right. One other very cool, a lot of studies this week. I've been reading a lot of papers this week. This was an interesting study that said, wanted to see, did wastewater surveillance really predict the COVID presence in the community? So they looked at wastewater and actual volume of virus in the wastewater, the predicted number of cases in this black line, the blue dots are the wastewater, and then the observed cases. And what's amazing is, it's absolutely dead on. So one thing that's very clear is wastewater is very, very predictive of the cases that are in the community. I've shown this now 3 weeks in a row because I'm waiting for the summer wave. It's almost the end of summer, and I predicted there would be a July-August wave for COVID. Well, it hasn't happened yet. But this is the red thing show that the summer peaks have been there for the last several years. But it's beginning. If you look at COVID emergency department cases, they're up in July. If you look at the percent that are positive tests, it's even greater, so there's more and more around. And if you look at the wastewater analysis, you can see in these blue and the dark blue and darkish blue that there are a lot of states that are having either high or very high wastewater level of COVID-19. So California, Nevada, Florida, and Alabama being the most, with Louisiana, South Carolina, and Colorado. So very interesting. And then this is a predictor for epidemic trends based on ED visits and positivity. And you can see there is a tendency for growth in the epidemic in these states that are very dark purple and lighter purple. Now, this is an interesting thing. I want to put this in a little context. I've shown you the evolution of the virus. If you remember, JN1 was the dominant strain in 2023, and 2024 became the flirt variants, and now this year it's been this LP8. So that has been the evolution until that recombinant came in, which was a combination between JN1 and XDV, became this guy that's now XFG, the dominant strain. The reason I want to show you is look at JN1. That was the dominant strain in 2023. This is the data now. So now in the United States, JN1's gone, and XFG is the dominant strain, just like it is now in the rest of the world, with XFG and a new mutation, XFG.3, now accounting for almost 50% of all the variants. And LP8, that one that was last year, is still up 17%. But you can see XFG is really dominating in the United States, just like we expected. And we predicted that from the Travelers Program. If you'll recall, the Travelers Program is these major airports or sites of entry into the United States, and they're either wastewater from airplanes, wastewater from the entire airport, or nasal swabs of people coming from into this country. And the Travelers Program has shown this tremendous increase in COVID, and the dominant strain in those is XFG, 52%. And so we're very similar to what the rest of the country is. So West Nile, just that we have 49 cases. Most of the cases right now are in Arizona and Louisiana, interestingly enough, with Texas being right up there. I'm sure Texas will have the most cases before the end of the year. And one of the big concerns about West Nile right now is as if the high hill country hasn't had enough trouble with all the flooding. The flooding has left a huge opportunity for mosquitoes to grow. So there's a very huge concern that there will also be a tremendous number of cases in West Nile from the hill country. And lastly, I did want to, because not only is there H5N1 in New York, there's West Nile now, also in Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, Staten Island. And my sister said, what should I do? I said, stay inside, don't move. Never turn off the air conditioner, keep the door shut. That's life in New York. Anyway, I want to end today with a bunch of shout-outs. First of all, congratulations to our joint venture hospital, Baylor St. Luke's Medical Center, and our affiliated hospitals, Menninger Clinic, MD Anderson Cancer Center, and Tier Memorial Hermann were all recognized for their excellence in patient care by U.S. News and World Report. Children's Hospital ranking doesn't come out now, but Texas Children's is always consistently one of the top children's hospitals in the nation. Also, congratulations to Dr. Robert Schulman, Professor of Pediatrics, who's the recipient of the Samuel J. Foreman Nutrition Award from the American Academy of Pediatrics. This award recognizes an individual for outstanding achievement in research relating to the nutrition of infants and children. And congratulations to Dr. Meyer Mohair, Chief of Infectious Disease Section at Baylor St. Luke's Medical Center and Professor of Infectious Diseases. He's been elected President-elect of the Certification Board of Infection Control and Epidemiology, National Leadership role. And finally, I want to thank everyone for their many birthday greetings. I wasn't feeling old enough until you all told me happy birthday. Now I'm feeling really old. Anyway, have a wonderful weekend, and I can't wait to see you next week.